believe it or not, there are times in this country where the left and the right can come together. And I value those times. I think you do too, Corey.
Absolutely.
When we're talking about substance and talking about issues, I think we can have some meaningful discussions. Corey Heidelberger, who is in the studio with us today, has done what I think is a reasonable job of, and that's as complimentary as I'm likely to be.
That's more than I'd expect. Thank you.
You've done a reasonable job of articulating the elements of EB5. Share with our listeners today whatever's on your mind about EB5.
Well, the EB5 visa program is something I've been watching on my blog, the Madville Times, since 2007, 2008, when EB5 originally was just a program to promote dairies over in East River. Big dairies, like 1,000, 2,000, 7,000 head dairies. At that time, EB5 was originally bringing in maybe, $1 million for one little dairy, $1 million for another dairy. $1 million, that's two EB5 investors from Korea, China, wherever, from any foreign country, where they're basically buying their green card. Foreign investor says, I'll give you $500,000 in South Dakota to start some business, and in return, I get free pass into the country for myself and my immediate family. Now, there are many levels at which one could criticize that program. One, I think the idea that rich people can jump the queue and come into America just because they're willing to hand over $500,000, whereas the regular workman has to go through the normal process.
So you think those folks should just come across the southern border in the dark of night?
I think those folks and the folks coming across the border should all follow legal methods of getting into the country. Immigration reform in general, that's a huge topic, but whatever the rules are, I think they should be the same for everybody, whether they're rich or not. I don't think having money is a reason to give someone a free pass into the country. So EB5 kind of sat wrong with me in the beginning. But what we've seen in the past year now is how EB5, frankly, appears to be a money-making scheme for the friends of the government in Pierre. You have a scheme where, it's not just $500,000 that goes into some project, but then the lawyers and the, Joop Balen, the director of the EB5 company, and Richard Benda, the director of the loan monitor for the program, who used to work for Mike Rounds, they in total, according to the press, would get $45,000 in administration fees or commissions or whatever for moving the papers around.
Well, with that kind of money, certainly there's enough to go around.
Well, I think the point would be this. With that kind of money, there becomes a motivation for the people making the money, the lawyers and the director of the EB5 program, to just get as many investors as they can and not pay quite as much attention to the merits of the business. And that's where things go wrong for South Dakota, because we've seen two spectacular failures of EB5 after Joop Balen, the director of the program, and Richard Benda, the economic development director, started pushing to make it bigger. Because remember, I said this started as just a way to promote, kind of medium-sized dairies, maybe a couple investors at a time. Around 2007, 2008, they started pushing for mega dairies, huge projects. The Veblen dairy, I think it was 30 Korean investors for $15 million total in investment, 7,000 head of cattle, pollution problems, business problems, violations of state law, and it went bankrupt.
In a minute and a half, and we'll devote another segment to this probably, but in a minute and a half, tell our listeners what you think is wrong with the integrity either of the program or the way it was administered.
The problem with the integrity of the program is that it became a profit motive. If the state is going to interfere in economic development in the first place, I mean, that's kind of Marxist, and you guys should be going ape about that. But if we can agree that the state should interfere in the marketplace sometimes to make some new businesses happen that wouldn't happen otherwise, we still need to make sure that the guys doing it aren't doing it for their own personal profit, but they're doing it because they've recognized a viable, effective project that'll create jobs. EB5 didn't do that in some cases.
So who do you believe personally profited from those two failed attempts?
Joop Balen, Richard Benda, Jeff Sven, and Mike Rounds. Joop Balen, director of EB5, Richard Benda, the GoEd chief who diverted $500,000 to his own paycheck when he left the administration, Jeff Sven, the lawyer for all these outfits, and frankly Mike Rounds, who said, yeah, let's go hide EB5 in a private corporation so my friends can make money.
Well, I think that concludes this segment. Thank you for being with us, Corey.
Thank you, Gordon.